What if the world's most advanced fighter jets suddenly couldn't see? No radar failure, no missile strike, no explosion in the sky, just silence. Somewhere above Syria, U.S. fighter pilots began noticing something strange. Their navigation systems were glitching, and coordinates were shifting. Targeting pods were behaving oddly. The sky was clear, but digitally, something was very wrong. Welcome to the GPS war in Syria, a silent, invisible battle between two military superpowers, the United States and Russia. And this war isn't fought with bullets or bombs, it's fought with signals. The importance of GPS in modern air combat. To understand what's happening in Syria, we first need to understand one thing. Modern fighter jets depend heavily on GPS. Yes, jets like the F-22, F-35, and F-16 are equipped with advanced radar, inertial navigation systems, and backup technologies. But GPS plays a crucial role in precision navigation, targeting accuracy, coordinating with ground forces, launching precision-guided munitions, avoiding friendly fire, synchronizing battlefield data. In short, GPS is the digital backbone of modern air power. Without it, pilots can still fly, but precision drops. Coordination weakens, confusion increases, and in a war zone like Syria, confusion can be deadly. Why Syria is so important. Syria isn't just another conflict zone. It has become one of the most complex military theaters in the world. On one side, the Syrian government backed by Russia and Iran. On the other side, various rebel groups. US-backed Kurdish forces, American military presence. Since 2015, Russia has maintained a significant military footprint in Syria. This includes air bases like Hmeimim Air Base, advanced air defense systems, S-300, S-400, electronic warfare systems. And that's where the story becomes interesting, because Russia didn't just bring fighter jets to Syria. It brought electronic warfare. What is electronic warfare? Electronic warfare, EW, is the ability to control, disrupt, or manipulate the electromagnetic spectrum. In simple terms, it means attacking the enemy's communications, radar, and navigation systems without firing a single shot. There are three main types: electronic attack, jamming signals, disrupting GPS, interfering with radar; electronic protection, protecting your own systems from jamming electronic support; detecting and analyzing enemy signals. Russia has invested heavily in electronic warfare over the past 2 decades, and Syria became the perfect testing ground. Russia's GPS jamming in Syria. Reports from multiple defense analysts and military sources have suggested that Russia has deployed advanced jamming systems in Syria, including Krasuka electronic warfare systems, GTEL jamming platforms, other mobile signal disruption units. These systems can interfere with GPS signals, drone communications, satellite navigation, tactical data links. In several incidents, U.S. forces operating in Syria reportedly experienced GPS interference. Drones lost connection, navigation systems glitched, coordinates drifted. Now here's the key point. There was no missile attack, no direct confrontation, just digital disruption. That's what makes this so powerful and dangerous. Are U.S. fighter jets really flying blind? Let's be clear. U.S. fighter jets are not completely blind without GPS. They have backup systems like inertial navigation systems, INS, terrain mapping radar, advanced onboard sensors, multi-layered data systems. But here's the issue. INS systems drift over time. Without GPS correction, small errors become larger. Targeting precision can degrade. And in modern warfare, precision is everything. A few meters off target can mean mission failure, collateral damage, escalation. In a tense environment like Syria, where Russian and American aircraft sometimes operate in close proximity, even small errors increase risk. And that risk is exactly what electronic warfare exploits. Russia's strategic message. So why is Russia doing this? It's not just about Syria. It's about sending a message. By jamming GPS signals in a contested zone, Russia demonstrates it can challenge U.S. technological superiority, it can disrupt American air operations, it can complicate NATO's battlefield dominance. This isn't just regional posturing, it's strategic signaling. It tells Washington, we can contest your advantage even without direct combat. And that changes the balance of power. A new type of Cold War. The GPS war in Syria reflects something bigger. Modern conflicts are no longer just about tanks and aircraft. They are about satellites, cyber systems, data networks, signal control. Instead of dogfights, we see signal fights. Instead of bombs, we see bandwidth battles. And Syria has become the testing lab for this new era of warfare. But here's the real question. If Russia can jam GPS in Syria, could it do the same elsewhere? What would happen in a larger conflict? And how prepared is the US military for a full-scale electronic warfare confrontation? Because in the next phase of this story, we'd all look at how the United States is responding, and whether American air power still holds the edge. In part 1, we uncovered how Russia has been using electronic warfare systems in Syria to jam GPS signals and disrupt US operations. Now, the big question is the United States unprepared? Or is this just another battlefield where American technology is adapting in real time? Let's break it down. America knew this was coming. The truth is, the US military has been preparing for GPS disruption for years. Why? Because American strategists always knew one thing. In any future war, with a near-peer competitor like Russia or China, GPS would be targeted first. The United States relies heavily on satellites for navigation communication, missile guidance, intelligence drone operations, and those satellites orbit thousands of kilometers above Earth, vulnerable to jamming, spoofing, cyber attacks, anti-satellite weapons. So the Pentagon didn't just sit back and hope GPS would always work. They built layers of backup systems. The backup. Inertial navigation systems, INS. Every advanced US fighter jet includes a powerful inertial navigation system. Here's how it works. Instead of relying on external satellite signals, INS uses internal sensors, accelerometers and gyroscopes to calculate position based on motion. Think of it like this. If you close your eyes, but know exactly how far and in what direction you have moved, you can estimate where you are. That's INS. But there's a catch. Over time, tiny calculation errors add up. Without GPS correction, these small errors can drift into larger ones. That's why GPS and INS normally work together. When GPS is jammed, INS keeps the jet operational, but precision gradually decreases. And in high-stakes air operations, even minor drift matters. Precision weapons without GPS? Here's where things get even more interesting. Many modern US precision-guided munitions rely on GPS guidance. For example, JDAM bombs, some cruise missiles, certain drone systems. If GPS signals are jammed, weapon accuracy can degrade. But the US has alternatives. Laser-guided munitions, infrared targeting systems, radar-guided weapons, advanced imaging seekers. So while GPS jamming complicates operations, it doesn't completely neutralize American strike capability. However, it forces tactical adjustments. And that's exactly what Russia wants. Spoofing versus jamming. The real threat. There's another layer to this electronic war. Jamming blocks signals. Spoofing is more dangerous. Spoofing means sending a fake GPS signal that looks real, tricking systems into calculating the wrong position. Instead of losing signal entirely, a system might believe it's somewhere it isn't. Imagine a drone thinking it's over a safe zone, when it's actually drifting into hostile airspace. That's not just disruption, that's deception. Reports have suggested that Russian electronic warfare units are capable of both jamming and spoofing creates serious risks: navigation confusion, airspace violations, friendly fire incidents, diplomatic escalation. This is why the Syria theater is so tense, because the digital battlefield can spill into real-world consequences instantly. The F-35 factor. Now let's talk about America's most advanced fighter jet, the F-35. Unlike older aircraft, the F-35 was designed with contested environments in mind. It includes advanced sensor fusion, encrypted data links, highly protected GPS receivers, electronic countermeasures. In simple terms, the F-35 isn't just a jet. It's a flying data center. It constantly merges information from multiple sensors: radar, infrared, electronic signals, satellite feeds. So even if GPS is degraded, the jet still builds a digital map of the battlefield. This reduces dependency on a single navigation source. But here's the reality. Even the F-35 isn't invincible. In a heavily jammed environment, coordination between multiple aircraft becomes harder, and modern warfare depends on networked operations. If you disrupt the network, you weaken the force. The bigger strategic picture. What's happening in Syria isn't random. It's part of a larger strategic shift. For decades, the United States enjoyed overwhelming technological superiority. Its satellites were safe. Its signals were uncontested. Its aircraft operated with near total dominance. But Russia, and increasingly China, studied that model. And instead of trying to match the US plane for plane, they focused on disrupting the system. Because if you can blind the network, you don't need to destroy every jet. Electronic warfare is asymmetric power. It's cheaper than building stealth fighters. It's harder to attribute publicly. And it operates below the threshold of open war. That makes it extremely attractive strategically. Why there's no open conflict? If this electronic battle is happening, why isn't there a direct US-Russia confrontation? Because both sides understand escalation risks. Syria is crowded airspace, Russian jets, American jets, Israeli jets, drones, missiles. One miscalculation could trigger a major international crisis. So instead, both sides operate in a gray zone. Signals get jammed, complaints are filed, warnings are issued, but no missiles are fired at each other directly. This is controlled competition, and it's incredibly delicate. The real danger. The biggest danger isn't that US jets are flying blind. It's that electronic warfare reduces clarity. This psychological pressure is part of the strategy. It's not about total blindness, it's about introducing doubt. And doubt can be as powerful as destruction. A preview of future wars? What we're seeing in Syria may be a preview of 21st century warfare. Future conflicts may begin not with explosions, but with silence. Satellites glitching, signals dropping, networks fragmenting. The first strike could be invisible, and that's what makes this era so dangerous. Because when the battlefield becomes digital, escalation can happen faster than leaders can react. We've explored the invisible battle over Syria. We've seen how Russia uses electronic warfare to jam and potentially spoof GPS signals. We've looked at how the United States adapts using backup systems, stealth aircraft, and networked warfare. Now comes the ultimate question. Has Russia actually weakened US air dominance, or is this just a temporary tactical disruption? Let's break it down. Despite GPS jamming incidents, one reality remains. The United States still possesses the most advanced and integrated air combat system in the world. American air power isn't just about fighter jets, it's about an entire ecosystem that includes stealth aircraft like the F-22 and F-35, AWACS airborne radar platforms, satellite constellations, aerial refueling tankers, global logistics networks, cyber warfare units, and Space Command. This layered system gives the US resilience. If one capability is degraded, others compensate. That's the difference between a powerful military and a networked superpower. However, dominance today isn't as uncontested as it was 20 years ago, and that is the real shift. After the Cold War, the US operated in environments where enemies lacked advanced air defenses. GPS signals were uncontested, electronic interference was minimal, and air superiority was nearly guaranteed. Conflicts like Iraq and Afghanistan reinforced that perception. But Syria represents something different. It is the first theater in decades where US and Russian forces operate in proximity. Advanced air defense systems are deployed, electronic warfare is active, and airspace is contested. This forces the US military to operate in a denied environment, and that changes everything. The Pentagon is not ignoring this challenge. In fact, electronic warfare modernization has accelerated. The US is developing next-generation GPS with stronger encryption known as M-code, anti-jam antennas, more resilient satellite constellations, low Earth orbit backup systems, alternative navigation methods including a revival of celestial navigation and AI-assisted signal correction. There is even renewed interest in technologies once considered outdated, such as star tracking navigation systems because they cannot be jammed. This shows something important. The GPS war is not one-sided. It is an evolving technological arms race. Here's the dangerous part. Electronic warfare sits in a gray zone. It is aggressive but not openly violent. It is disruptive but difficult to prove definitively. That ambiguity creates risk. Imagine a US aircraft miscalculates navigation due to spoofing, accidentally crosses into restricted airspace, and an air defense system locks on. Pilots react defensively. Escalation can happen within seconds, not because leaders ordered it, but because signals failed. Modern warfare is so fast and interconnected that digital disruptions can trigger physical consequences almost instantly. That is what makes Syria such a delicate balancing act. Russia's objective may not be to completely blind US jets. Instead, it aims to complicate US operations, demonstrate technological capability, signal strength to NATO, test systems under real-world conditions, and reduce America's sense of uncontested superiority. In strategic terms, this is deterrence through disruption. It sends a message that American advantage can be contested, and sometimes perception is as powerful as reality. What happens in Syria does not stay in Syria. Military doctrines evolve based on real-world experience. If electronic warfare proves effective in contested zones, we could see greater investment in anti-satellite weapons, increased GPS redundancy systems, more hardened military networks, civil aviation upgrades, and global competition in space resilience. In other words, Syria could be a preview of how future wars begin, not with explosions, but with signal interference. The biggest lesson from the GPS war is that reliance on a single system creates vulnerability. The US built unparalleled air dominance on precision, speed, and connectivity. Russia examined that system and asked what would happen if the connection were disrupted. That question now shapes modern military planning worldwide. Future aircraft will likely rely less on single-point satellite correction and more on multi-sensor fusion, AI-assisted navigation, distributed satellite networks, and autonomous resilient systems. The battlefield is becoming smarter and more contested. So who really controls the skies? If control means the ability to operate effectively despite interference, the answer is complex. The United States still holds technological depth, global infrastructure, and unmatched integration. But Russia has proven something critical. American air dominance can be challenged without firing a shot, and that shifts the strategic equation. The skies over Syria are not just physically crowded, they are electronically contested. And in modern warfare, the side that controls the spectrum often shapes the battlefield. The GPS war in Syria is not about one incident. It represents a new era where signals are weapons, data is a battlefield, satellites are strategic targets, and dominance is no longer guaranteed. The next major conflict may begin silently, with no warning sirens, no explosions, just systems glitching, signals fading, and pilots recalculating. And that silence may be the first sign that the real war has already begun.